Howdy.
Hi, thank you so much.
Goodness. Ah, which was odd because I expected to be much more healed than I think I ended up being. Uh,
Totally.
it.
And
Yep. Most recently for Mag, I've been Isabel from the Animal Crossing series. And for Fanime, I went as Mama Edoria before, tragedy struck. Exactly, yeah. And it's been a crazy year. I'm so sentimental. Are the rest of us good? You can hear us?
Wonderful. So while G's fixing that, let me grab something real quick, and I'll entertain the chat until you're good to go. So this is going to be a reading of Shusaku Endo's A Life of Jesus. This is the whole life of Jesus. It stands out clean and simple, like a single ideograph brushed on a blank sheet of paper. It was so clean and simple that no one could ever make sense of it, and no one could produce it
okay.
twice again.
Yes, I'm fixed. I'm fixed. Go ahead and down the decibel rating so I'm in the comfortable yellow range. Sorry about that, chat. And thank you for the reading, Jack. That was stalling no jutsu, one of my favorite tactics whenever things go wrong. I use it a
Don't
lot.
worry, I've got this right by my side, and if we somehow need to run through the entire novel, I can always pick up At Swim Two Birds is next to me as well. We can go from Japanese novel about the life of Christ to Irish comedy in the modernist tradition.
Now, it's not quite exactly modernist tradition, but something really cool just happened, and that's Hikaru-chan just subscribed to us with a Twitch Prime, and they've been with us for 11 months. Thank you. Thank you, Angelica.
Wonderful.
Woo!
All right, let's go ahead and one more time, Theresa, before I rudely cut you off. How did you get involved all this?
My first show was actually at Fanime. And when I went, I had no idea what was happening. My little brother actually was super into wrestling. Well, he still is. And so he was able to kind of explain the chants and cheers to me. And I was able to explain some of the lesser known characters to him. And it just looked so fun. And I have another friend who's in CWF, and she encouraged me. And anybody who's watching and is curious about joining, definitely give it a shot. It's a lot less scary than it looks.
So, uh, you're it's a very common backstory, and I don't mean common as in to degrade it or belittle it, but it's like
Yeah, I know.
it's very common. It's I mean comforting. It's like I saw it, I knew someone, they dragged me in, and now I don't want to leave.
Exactly. You can't get rid of me now. Sorry.
Well, after after that performance that you and Jack and Sean had, I don't want to get rid of you.
Aww.
Now, uh, as we advertised before, this is tonight's episode is all about MagWest 2019. Our team had the pleasure of performing our latest show, CWF Magnitude. Our broadcast is still live on our Twitch page, so you could watch from beginning to end, and it was great. Hyper condensed. We got a lot in at a little amount of time. Now, we're going to be talking about MagWest in detail, about things that we did, especially since Jack and Theresa were in the thick of it for multiple days. But before we share our comments, I'd like to disclose our involvement. Number one, the entire performing team and staff was compensated free badges for the event, and not just free badges for the day, the entire weekend. MAG has a policy where if you do a panel, you get a free badge for the entire weekend. Doesn't matter if it's on Thursday or Sunday, you get a free badge. And that was like 16 of us. I'm ballparking between staff and performers. So that was 16 badges given away to us, which is a lot. Normally cons give you 4. In addition, I am the department head of panels at MagWest. So not only am I a supporter, I'm directly involved in the management infrastructure. So if you're expecting a unbiased, uncritical review from me, it's impossible. I helped put things together, which included the selection process of panels. So please keep that in the back of your mind, because we fully believe in honesty, and it would be very dishonest for me to say, yeah, it's the best, and not tell you any of this. With that said, Jack, Theresa, overall thoughts on the event?
MagWest continues to be an extremely solid con, as to be expected. Obviously, it's got a pretty strong pedigree here on the West Coast, and it being the West Coast version of MagFest gives it an even better foundation to build on. I had a hella good time for the 2 days I got to spend there.
Like the use of hella.
I've been to several cons around the area, and trust me, if I disliked it, I would tell the truth. As much as I adore UG, I am not gonna mislead people, and frankly, I really liked this con. Sorry. I just mean, I know Sean and I, as well as the other people in our room, were kind of evaluating the game room, the panels, the pool party, which was the first time I'd ever been to one at a con, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, that was something we did differently. By the way, Theresa, do you have headphones by any chance? Because when I talk while you're talking, I can hear myself.
Oh, yep, just a sec.
Yeah, go grab them. For those who haven't been to MAG, one, you should. This was our 3rd year, and we were in a brand new location. For the previous 2 years, we were at the Santa Clara Hotel near Great America, which was also the site of the first Crunchyroll Expo when we first debuted. We've outgrown the venue, and we moved to the Doubletree. For those who are wondering what the Doubletree is, for our Fanime viewers, the Doubletree is where they had Silver Island, all the 18 plus programming. Well, we took it over, we filled it up with wonderment and amazement, and just parked our butts for 3 days of party. Now, Jack, outside of CWF, did you partake in any of the events?
I did get to catch a couple of panels. Most of my time was spent in the games room, which was, as expected for a MAG, music and games, extremely well laid out. Probably my favorite, games room location I've been in at a con. I don't have a huge depth of con experience, I'll admit. The Midwest, especially Missouri, is death for cons. Nothing grows there. It is dead ground. So
Missouri.
Most of my experience... Look, I get to insult the state because I'm from there. Just saying.
All right. I'll take that bullet out of the chamber.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to insult it. I'm just saying that I will critique the accuracy of your insults. But since moving out here to Cali, I've been to a fair number of cons. Sac, Fanime, others here and there. Mag has had the solidest game room I've been in at a con. Probably because it's so much of the focus of the convention is the gaming. Just having jam spots, just places for people to bring their instruments, whips ass. That ruled. I saw someone with an upright oboe, which is an instrument roughly the size of a human torso and head, just like jamming out on it. It was bizarre, but in a wonderful way. And of course, it was a very welcoming con. There were pronoun ribbons provided. No names were directly printed onto the badges, so we were allowed to put down what our actual naming was, as opposed to what might be the legally documents we have to present to retrieve the badges. There was, I don't know if there was multiple. I only saw one gender-neutral bathroom.
There were multiple.
There were multiple.
Okay. There was just one directly behind registration that I noticed and was very glad to see. Because even if it was the only one, that's one more than a lot of cons pull off.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every bathroom was gender neutral in this case.
The bathrooms near the paddle rooms were not gender neutral.
Correct. In fact, up on the technically, I guess, third floor, the second floor over the stairs, they specifically labeled that there were gender-neutral bathrooms available on the first floor. Because they were not up there as well. Next to the main stage and the jam and chip space.
Yeah, I really want to elaborate on the bathroom situation because I think it's this is a very strong precedent. But before I do, Sergeant Gunshow in the green room has wrote several paragraphs that I'd like to read out loud real quick. Thank you for typing this out, my friend. MagWest was a great event overall. All the critiques I have are small things that get fixed this year, like faster reg, posting schedules in front of each panel room, games list of what was available in game room. This was certainly the biggest and best MagWest in the 3 years I've been. The hotel was great for those little impromptu jam sessions, though. The hallways and the upstairs jam room. Thanks, man. But yes, let's. I know you mentioned it earlier that you wanted to talk about the bathrooms and the ribbons, and I think this is a fantastic starting point for this topic. Would you agree?
Yes, I should state beforehand, for anyone who doesn't know, any of the fans, I myself am gender non-binary. I'm currently, at the con, I was very mask presenting, mostly because I had just gotten off of work, where I present masks for reasons of employability. As terrible as it is to have to say that, it is the reality we live in. And also because I was playing a mask character in the CWF performance as Mr. Recetti. It's not Mix Recetti yet. Nintendo, cowards, do it.
Cowards. To bring into context of the accommodations Mag provided, when you receive your badge, Jack is absolutely right that the name section on the badge is actually on the back of it, and you're allowed to write behind the badge with a marker. They don't give you a badge with your name. In addition to the badge having all the rules of MAG and its policies, they had a link. They had the address for the schedule and the security hotline that you could call whenever you feel like your safety is compromised. They also had several ribbons for your pronouns that you could just attach to your badge, in addition to stuff like volunteer or panelist or, in my case, department head. And the coup de grace were the two main bathrooms on the first floor. Mag actually covered the restroom signs, and it just says gender neutral with urinals, gender neutral without urinals. No, I wanted to bring everybody to the fold.
It was wonderful.
Yes.
Also, I know this isn't the point, but the bathrooms were so clean, and I always really appreciate that at cons.
Oh yeah, can we also talk about the water stations readily available?
Oh my
Oh my
gosh, that was the
God.
best water.
It feels so bougie to say, but it was very tasty tap water and just very nice to be able to go because a lot of cons that have that hotel in their area will have the general hotel stations where there'll be the pitchers and the tiny plastic cups, but they were everywhere at Mag. Occasionally they took a little bit to get refilled if they ran out, but then you just walk another 20 paces and there's another one.
Yeah, there were water stations everywhere, electronic water stations that dispense hot and cold water, very cold water, along with plastic cups and recycle bins near each one. The first floor had three alone. Each panel room had one, and there were several on the second floor.
Panels Room 1 had two of them.
I wish ours hadn't run out, but we were the end of the day, so.
We were.
That's true.
So it's just there. I mean, these things. People listening are going like, "Wow, you guys aren't 18 minutes in. You haven't even talked about the fun stuff." Like, listen, dude. Listen, imaginary thinker, if you are even there. When you go to enough cons, where to drink and where to go are very, 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 very important details you don't skip on.
No.
Especially when it's that hot out. Oh man.
Yeah,
Oh.
we didn't leave the hotel a lot, but now that I got you here with headphones, Theresa,
Hey, yeah.
what events did you hit up, or what were the activities you were circling around a lot? I mean, you got CWF pool party. Anything else?
Yeah, I went to some of the panels, which were super fun. A special shout out to the Harry Potter panel, just because that was the most engaging trivia contest I'd ever been in. We also went to a lot of the concerts, which were so fun. You were able to actually get really close to the stage, which I'm not used to. And there was just a wide variety of music, even though it was all video game themed. And I just really appreciated all of that. Oh, also, I love arcade games, so I was there for a while. I liked the one guy who had a snake around his neck. It was very cute.
There was a snake?
Yeah, there's a guy just playing video games with this little snake around his neck.
I see this. I didn't know that. Yeah,
I didn't even notice it at first.
I think game room was a good place to start with our analysis since we spent a lot of time there. It had a very unique setup, unlike most conventions, where arcade, video games, indie games, and LAN and board games were all in the same hall. That way, if you ever got bored or were doing something, you could just kind of walk a few paces and then you're in a different department. It's also worth noting that all the arcade games were provided by GameStar, meaning, like Fanime, they were on free play. And they had some...
Yes.
They had some good games.
I did a whole bunch of the driving ones because I never get a chance to see those around here.
Initial D.
They're always broken. Yep.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the rhythm games myself, and of course now I had to stop by and play some board games with the CWF fam. We had a rollicking session of Channel A and Bear Dog. Thank you, Jack.
No problem.
But another detail to share: the whole game hall was 24 hours.
Yes.
So grateful for that, by the way.
So, I mean, if you were the gaming hall alone just made it that you weren't bored. It was impossible. Unless you didn't like video games or gaming, then I guess. But there was always something to do.
Even if you didn't like gaming, there were a lot of things where you could just kind of play with the parts, like the bongo set. Even if you didn't like actually doing the rhythm games, it was just kind of fun to mess around and see what noises you could get it to make, see how you could go from Game Boy to TV screen back to Game Boy with the same little character.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, that was one of the Donkey Kong games, and one of the displays off after my own art was somebody set up Time Crisis 1 with the old Namco gun, and Time
Yes.
Crisis is my jam. Yeah, game room was amazing. Theresa, do you want to talk about the pool party a bit? Because you were there for quite a while.
Yeah, we didn't mean to,
Nah,
but
it's alright.
when we got there, the water temperature was absolutely perfect, and it was just too fun to leave. We had the music blaring with people shouting out the names of the songs if they recognized them, people throwing the inflatable pool balls around. Other CWF members would stop by, people from other panels that I just met and wound up becoming friends with. This whole con felt really friendly. Like in the game room, I never had a problem finding someone to play with me. You could just ask and they'd be like, oh, totally, I am up for being player too.
It's
But as for the pool party itself, I really hope you continue doing that. It was just so relaxing and great for sore joints after all the running around cons.
Well, I will, as someone who's been part of the feedback session, the pool party got a lot of praise from both staff and attendees. Yeah, but, hey, BWO for life. Welcome to the green room. But,
Hello.
you know, Theresa, you touched on something really core to the experience, was that the whole event felt homely and friendly. Like, people could just bop in and out of games, complete strangers playing with one another. Like, I feel like, especially at bigger cons, even at Fanime, you gotta, like, kind of have an in to talk to a stranger, be it, like, shared cosplay experience or something. But literally, at Maggie, like, hey, you want to play? Oh, okay. And that just happens.
I mean, people were doing that with instruments, where they would just go, hey, you want to play some music with me? And even if they'd never met before, they would just both play songs.
Yeah, toward the end of Mag, I remember watching in a giant session where they all had a jam. I think it was staff, Mag staff, they were all collectively jamming out to Toriel's theme song from Undertale.
Yeah.
Game was great. Let's move on over to... So we talked about the accommodations, we talked about the game room, talked about the pool party. Is there anything else you want to talk to before we talk about the actual programming?
The general MagWest programming?
General
or
MagWest.
Ours?
Well, ours is our own segment.
Of course. Are we including tournaments in programming?
Oh, sure, yes, tournaments, yeah.
Okay, so I'll save that comment for when we're discussing programming in general, because, I feel like we should mention some of the minor critiques.
Yeah,
were
let's
general
do that.
Before we move on. The parking. The parking happened. It's the first con it's the first time we're hosting in that specific location, so that was sort of unavoidable.
Parking was rough in terms of both finding it and paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was rather pricey. I dodged the bullet just because I had to pay for parking, but because I was a hotel guest, I didn't have to pay an obscene amount. Also, food was difficult.
Yeah. Food, not a lot of options.
No, which was a pity, because if parking wasn't such a problem, we would not have any problem with... Well, Rachel and I, we ended up staying off-site because of some communication flip-flops. But we stayed at the Airport Inn, which is a 5-minute drive away, and is only 500 feet from the Levix. So if we were able to leave that parking lot more than once, we probably would have survived entirely on burritos.
You could have survived... Oh, shout out to Jaime. You could probably have survived entirely on orange sauce, too.
I mean, yeah. Probably.
Definitely.
We managed to eat there at the end of the night Friday with some other folks, but... And there wasn't... was the nearest place to eat that Burgerim? I don't know how to pronounce that restaurant's name, and their font choice does not help.
Burger Im, Burger I Am, Chipotle, and the Pho restaurant.
Ah. And those were not super inconvenient. They're probably about as far away walking as, like, say, Iguanas or Levix is from the Fanime location, but still a tiny bit of a hike to get at the nearest food.
The heat also didn't help.
No.
Fanime tends to run colder.
Yes.
Fanime has a lot more restaurants within walking distance, I think. Then again, I didn't really try to walk in that heat, so maybe I'm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see already the green room was talking about the food situations before. Rachel's talking about how much ramen. Is it Rachel? I want to make sure. Yeah, we all ate ramen from lunch multiple days in a row, and I felt like death afterwards.
Well, I think that was more talking about how great the water stations are for reminding you to be hydrated, because it's so easy at cons to forget to take care of yourselves because you're too busy looking at the panel schedule.
Meanwhile, AJ, using some four-dimensional thinking, probably the closest was inside the Matrix Casino. We went there for dinner. So, I mean, if you look at it, the casino's always open.
True.
True.
That works.
I did have to struggle. Speaking as staff, we were supplied food by the hotel at least twice a day, and even then I was feeling the crunch. Where if it wasn't for a staff member doing a late night McDonald's run where I just scarfed down a cold cheeseburger and chicken sandwich, I would have not walked away that night at full capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Parking and food were definitely two things, especially parking. Coming from the Santa Clara Convention Center, which had the giant free parking garage, you miss it.
Yeah.
The food was good if you were willing to get delivery, and I would say that we were in Flavor Town at least a little with that. There's one Filipino place that I can't remember the name of. So good.
Yeah, there were Grubhub delivery was definitely the key choice if you weren't willing to make the trek. So but for the most part, the attendees, myself included, we were in the con. I only ventured out once to get food.
Having everything in the building was really nice. You didn't have to go somewhere else to find any of the panels or any of the activities.
You didn't even.
And I appreciate that.
And you didn't have to go out in the sun to there were no building crossing.
Thank goodness.
Oh yeah, and AC worked flawlessly. All right, let's go ahead. Any other critiques the two of you had? These were, by the way, very good critiques, and they were also leveled at us during the feedback meeting. So I'm very happy. That includes you, Green Room. I'm very happy that you're sharing your critiques, because anything said here that is a critique, I'm going to file over to the powers that be, because we take critiques very seriously.
On Friday, I went to take out, because there was a very large library of tabletop and games available to play, but they didn't have anything listed. They didn't have any list or master of what they had or didn't have. They said they were working on it on Friday, and by Saturday we were all so into Channel A that we didn't pull anything else out.
Yeah, so about that, funny story, our board game supplier canceled the day before.
Oof.
So that collection was actually assembled by a combination of using whatever budget was left to buy games at Target, as well as donations from staff members and volunteers.
Okay. That certainly explains the list issue. Also, small aside, what a world we live in, that games that are worth playing you can buy at Target.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Strange.
It's strange. Like, literally, hey, let's go to the Target and get good, reasonably priced designer board games.
And also the board game library staff, super nice, super helpful. They did suggest that I take and play Exploding Kittens, but that's really more of a critique on me and my refined taste than it is on anything at the con's expense.
Oh yeah.
Am I about to get called out for my love of that game?
No, it's more so that it's like any board game player. There is those 1 to 5 titles where you turn super snob. It's not you, it's us.
Ah,
It's not wrong to like that game. There's just so many better games that do what it does.
Now, before we go ahead and extend this podcast by another 40 minutes, where Jack and I will
Oh.
just run down the list, uh, I did want to talk about Marketplace real quick.
yes.
There was an artist alley at Marketplace. It was called this year. It was the first time we've done it. Relatively small. However, a lot of the artists that were accepted liked the smaller atmosphere. They said, We don't normally one artist. Not gonna say their name because I don't know it. It said we don't normally like warehouse artist alleys, so having a smaller room allowed us to actually talk to our customers, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was when I first entered into it, because I assumed it was going to be like a combination Burge Hall and Artist Alley, but it was just an Artist Alley, effectively. It's the most accurately named Artist Alley I have ever had the pleasure of being in. Again, my experiences are places like Sac and Fanime,
Which are the
huge,
big halls.
yeah, like artist halls and also merch. Um, Daikon, which is the one day UC Davis Con, had a bigger artist alley than this was as well. You could probably, if you were just looking, walk in and out of that room in 5 minutes, which was actually to its benefit because of how much time you could just spend at one booth was amazing.
And each booth had so much. I was really surprised at just the variety of things between pins, plushies, deodorant. There were all sorts of items to look at.
Acrylic stands and clocks.
It was one of the few times I didn't feel like I had to rush by the art.
Well, I think it's part of it because there weren't as many booths there. Because when you go to a Fanime or an AX where there's so many tables and so many people, it's like, okay, I need to do the supermarket scan where you go in and out each aisle and turning your head left and right. But this one is like, oh, I can actually take my time, and since a lot of the programming at MAG is continuous, you're not on a schedule a lot of times.
Yes, other than the very specific panels you do or don't want to miss, everything at MAG is going for extended periods of time. Not just the game room, but stuff like the charity speedrunning they just had up right in front of the main stage, or the concerts had enough time in them that you didn't have to worry about like missing the chance to get in there.
I actually have a fun story about the charity stream.
Is it about
Do tell.
the stream and the panel?
Yes.
It's a great story.
So, MAG had a community stage, something that we, first for us, it was very similar to Stage 0, where it was just open programming out, and they built a little stage on the second floor. I wouldn't be surprised if Stage 0 was the inspiration, because a lot of MagWest staff is Fanime staff. In fact, the director of gaming for MagWest is also the same director of gaming for Fanime. He designed the layout of Fanime's room and really pushed for Fanime to convert to free play arcade. So the right person's there. Anyway, we had one of the guests. He had a panel. I scheduled him for this for X time on X day. He couldn't make it to the panel, so his second in command said he couldn't make it to the panel because he was on the community stage doing the charity stream. And his second in command said, "Hey, why don't we just stream the community stage in his panel room?" And that's where I got the call from other staff members like, "Hey, gee, can we do this?" And I said yes. Very easy choice, because either you do the stream or you don't have anything. scales tipping in one direction. But
Mhm.
what really made it beautiful was that the person doing the stream on the charity stream was actually doing his panel. He was actually saying the stuff he wanted to say in the panel while doing the stream. So in a way, you got the panel, which I thought was a fantastic workaround.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And with that, do we want to talk about tournaments real quick?
I only mentioned tournaments because there is one thing that was missing from MagWest. That is sort of a underground but cherished part of MagFest. That is the GYCL, which did not have a presence in any of the previous MagWests because the entirety of the GYCL is on the East Coast. So the Global Yoshi's Cookie League was not represented in MagWest 2019, but I'm going to make a statement here of intent that I'm going to be the GYCL representative and will bring Yoshi's Cookie to MagWest 2020.
Hey, fun you should
My hero.
funny you should mention it because MagWest actually has this policy with game tournaments, which we said during opening ceremonies, and we probably could have communicated clearer, which is if you have a game you want to run a tournament to, just approach the team and you could probably run it.
I'm going to have to make sure that I have the correct amount of Yoshi's Cookie cartridges. One, before we start this. And also to confer with the GYCL to make sure I have all the character selection and other rules established, because Yoshi's Cookie actually does have characters and counter picks.
Oh
So I
yeah.
need to double check the actual rules for tournament play for Yoshi's Cookie for the Super Nintendo, or if they prefer the NES version. Again, I have a year to figure this out. We're gonna make MagWest just as great as MagFest, one bit at a time, and this is my bit.
In fact, in terms of silly tournaments, we ran a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters Super Nintendo, as well as the Sailor Moon fighting game.
Now, to be
Yes.
fair, the Ninja Turtles fighting game is actually a solid Super Nintendo fighting game.
Oh yeah, I saw a
The
tournament.
same cannot be said for Sailor Moon, but
But
Aw.
it's no. The Sailor Moon game is horribly broken. It's horribly balanced, but that's why
That's the fun part.
No, that's what makes it fun. I think what that's the point. Tournament fighters is there's legit strats. Sailor Moon is whoever can do their broken bullshit first.
and to be fair, so many excellent fighting games are exactly.
To be fair, yes.
Especially they have an anime license. Pet Shop exists, and I wonder if that's why, God doesn't come down from heaven anymore.
But I just think it's fantastic policy. I mean, people run side events all the time, and that's not norm. I mean, that's normal, but it's a whole different layer for people running side events to go up to gaming staff and say, "I want to make this a event," and they go, "Sure, run it." Which I think is just really just shows how one of Mag's core values is they really want to blur the line of attendee and staff, and allows the con attendee to not just be a passive being, but to actively shape not only their experience but the experience around each other of those around them. Kaita writes, "Pet Shop owes me money."
Yeah, good luck grabbing it.
All right, I want to go ahead and move on to programming. My department, something very near to dear to my heart. To preface this, when these panels selected were a combination of panels that our guests wanted to do and fan panels submitted through us, and I really wanted to cultivate not only a diverse range of topics but experiences. I wanted people to look at this schedule and go, "Wow, this is interesting. I've never seen anything like this." And which was a mix of like game shows and entertainment, lectures. We had a room called Mages, which is educational game panels. I think on Sunday you would have liked this. They actually taught people how to like. They gave people elementary entry levels on designing your own board game, and
Oh.
they had a bunch of cardboard poster boards and stuff so people could make their own components.
Yeah, I was about to mention, if you didn't, Mages as just a concept of its own sort of panel space was super unique, and the kind of thing that like takes Mag outside of other cons and puts it in its own space. Like, you might have educational panels at other cons. You would not have a space singularly for educational panels hitting topics that were either musical or game design focused or how they intersect. It just shows how the focus of Mag was very on point. Music and games, it's what we got, and it allows you, with that focus, to spread out in other ways that make. I'm going to say the word unique at least another 5 times, I guess.
It's okay. I like it.
It's great. Other cons can't do that. Other cons, their focus is so wide, they can't dedicate the space.
Yeah, but a little bit about Mages. I really want to hit on the difference that Jack touched on, is that while educational panels at cons they're again something that we've seen a lot. How to cosplay, how to sew, photography 101, great topics. But what made Mages unique was this was an entire programming track that was only educational stuff, and not just educational stuff, hands-on educational stuff.
The con really let you kind of pick your own experience. Like, I was a bit more interested in the gaming aspects of it, which was great. But I still got to learn a lot about them.
Yeah, just to let you know, one of the workshops at Mages there was a Unity workshop, like the graphics.
Yep.
And it went through multiple stuff, and I'm gonna read this. This is in the Unity workshop description, and this is gonna make you smile, Jack. You ready for this?
Always.
Please download the required workshop files before attending the workshop.
Ooh.
Meaning this wasn't a how to use Unity. This was actual hands-on workshop using Unity.
That I don't see at other cons.
In addition to that, they had required workshop files, so that meant that people were working on the same stuff.
You know where I've seen that before?
Where?
At the GDC, which is the Game Development Conference.
I didn't know you
That's
went to the GDC.
The level. I did not go to the GDC. I'm not in the games industry, except to occasionally stand outside a window and yell, "Unionize." Please, as quickly as possible. Unionize, guys. You can do it. I believe in you.
Hell yeah, we believe in that too. We were actually allowing people to pass out union flyers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I saw that the Game Workers United had copies of their GDC booklet, apparently, at MAG, and that's hella dope in and of itself. But I follow enough people in the sphere to know, like, what workshops they were working on to show at GDC. And so that kind of thing, you see it like very, again, focused, and I don't want to say higher level, but more in industry focused, not just in the way of video games like GDC, but you see that at a lot of conventions that are not fan conventions, that are professional conventions. Which is really cool to see at MAG, which kind of bridges that space.
Yeah, because MAG has this very silly, irrelevant, laissez-faire attitude, but then it's got, hey, we got this hardcore industry professional track for you. We ain't joking around with that stuff. But let's go ahead and I just want to read for you a number of panels that we featured at MAG. As along with some of the guests, Sari Kobayashi composing for music, OCRemix.org 20 years of promoting VG music, creating safe places for blurs who love Keanu Reeves, welcome to home to MagWest, which was a Maid gaming panel. Sure, yes, I did that. 7 levels of reharmonization with 8-bit music theory. Yes, we taught you music theory in relevance of making game songs. We had Super Soul Brothers. They did a panel called Guabs, which was I can't describe it. It was absolutely nutso changeo. And at the very end, they rented a party bus and took everyone to Tacos Bravo.
Wait, really? I didn't hear about that part.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that either. Was that a Sunday panel, or did I just miss out?
Let me see. Guabs. The Guabs panel was at Saturday 8 to 10. So we were probably...
that explains a lot.
We were in CWF mode. That
Makes sense.
That was also...
that party bus to panels room 1.
It was also a very fun panel to schedule. And when I say fun, I mean not fun. Because it was one of the panels I could not move. I could not shuffle. Because it's like, hey, can you rebook your party bus? No, it wasn't going to happen. Yeah. Looks like we have a Sari Kobayashi fan in there. And Sari Kobayashi, in addition to having a panel, she had a concert, which was great. Let's see. We had 2 Sonic fan theory panels. They were both irrelevant and hilarious. I gotta give a shout out to our good friends at the TG Mystery Video Game Tournament. They are huge supporters of us, and they run like a multi-round, randomly multi-game tournament and actually give out prizes. And of course, Nintendo Double Dare, which was Double Dare, but with Nintendo challenges instead of physical challenges. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So much interaction between the audience and the panel members.
Oh, and I would be remiss to not mention the Friday panel Pirate Sing-Along.
I was about to, if you weren't going to, because...
Now, I was busy patrolling the floors, but do you two want to go ahead and share a little bit about the Pirate Sing-Along?
I'm so biased because I was in it, and it was so fun to do.
Well, why don't you at least, can you tell the concept for those who don't know?
Totally. So it was essentially explaining how sea shanties and similar styles of music can be used in your video games as world building and to get concepts across in a way that isn't just an entire book length piece of text in your games. And to kind of give examples of it, we had an actual sing-along where we would bring up a song, explain how it was used, and then the audience could sing along with the chorus part, which is easier than it sounds as someone with no singing training.
Yes, the sea shanty and the other songs descended or parallel to it are by design not difficult or complicated songs. As the panel went into, it was a lot of fun. People gave out temporary tattoos.
Yeah.
You might see one if you pay very good attention to the one true goth that performed at CWF. They were rocking some Pirate Shanty ink.
Aww. Also, thank you, Kaida. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
But we're also we're forgetting one thing. These sea shanties were performed by Eli and her accordion.
True, and there were many other, obviously, CWF alums on the panel as well. So, congrats, Eli, for doing a wonderful job on constructing this panel and making it even more relevant to the theme of MAG than I was expecting.
And performing the accordion, which we will get to in depth at the other panel we were involved in. But I kind of want to pivot from that to another panel that a friend from the team helped run, which you mentioned earlier, Theresa, which was Harry Potter trivia.
Yes.
Isaac was Harry Potter trivia was several of our team members were there. Andrew, Isaac, yourself, and
Justin and Ian, I believe.
Yeah, Justin and Ian. I walked in there, and I saw that that all the chairs in the room were rearranged, and that there was a giant table of prizes.
Ooh, yeah.
And I walked in, and I'm like, what the hell did I approve? Because it was, what, 2 hours long?
It was. I was surprised. It went by so quickly.
Yeah, it was a 2 hour long game show panel. They had Harry Potter trivia ranging from songs to random stuff from the movies. I remember I walked in when one of the organizers says, okay, we got to ask this question about a game system or else Mag will throw us out, in which I yelled, yes, we will.
I didn't even know. I read those books religiously when I was little, and I didn't even notice the game system in it.
I don't know anything about, but I just thought it was fun. Bryce walked out with Andrew walked away with a chocolate wand, and Bryce had a Harry Potter cookbook. Yes, a Harry Potter cookbook. I don't know how. I don't know what was in it, but it was given. Hey, that's Mag. People give out stuff. It's great.
Also going to mention, because Kaito mentioned it in the chat, there was an entire panel about wrestling music called the I believe it was Wrestle Rock, which is also the name of an album WWE put out, I believe, to everyone's dismay, because none of it is good.
None?
None. However, the album that should have sounded bad but wasn't was the WWE Aggression Album, which were rap songs made inspired by wrestlers, but they actually licensed Snoop Dogg and Redman and Method Man and Run DMC to do the tracks.
The key word there is inspired by, as opposed to performed by.
But
they can't all be Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, and also top 10 charting musical artist before his wrestling career.
Or Fozzy. Yes, the Wrestle Rock panel. It was the entire panel. I wasn't there. Kaito did, Ian. So I only have hearsay, but it was an entire panel devoted to talking about what makes a good wrestling theme. Talked about anticipation and build-up and all that stuff. So you learned about music and wrestling theory all in one panel.
That's a really cool idea for a panel.
Yeah,
Makes me very sad that you missed it, G, because it's everything you love.
I know, especially theory. I'm sorry, I worked the event.
I also missed it. The only difference is I'm becoming old before my years, and by 11:30 I was like, we're going to be in the hotel room and I'm going to be asleep. I'm working that David Brothers Love Yourself con strategy.
It's good. Oh, that reminds me, during opening ceremonies, we actually told everyone to follow the 621 rule. You ever heard of the 621 rule?
Please
I'm hoping
elaborate.
you'll explain.
Okay, we said, hey, Mag, it's 24 hours, but please follow the 621 rule if you can, which is 6 hours of sleep, 2 meals. One of them should be, at least one, if not both, should involve the use of silverware, and 1 shower.
Fair. It's a good rule.
It's a very good rule. So, you could be up as late as you want, but you just make sure you get your 621 in.
That's
Especially
smart.
It's actually a really good ratio, and we really believe in taking care of yourself, because especially at an event like Mag or Fanime, where there's something always going on, you feel compelled to stay on the floor as long as you can, because you might miss something.
Yeah, trust me, cons are way more fun when you're not actively in the process of dying.
Yes, food is great. And
Food's good.
food's great, and believe me when I say this, people, for when it comes to 2 to 3 in the morning, you're probably not missing as much.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, shout outs to Kaido, who says that the panel was so helpful for him that it allowed him to realize that he needed to switch his song, and it worked out. Which, hey, let's go ahead and get to the main event. Cosplay Wrestling Federation Magnitude.
Oof.
Yes.
What a show.
What a show. Now, Jack, you've kind of been on the sidelines for a bit, and you're kind of, I like to say, in the experimental portion of your career, and this felt like you're like a real, I don't want to say real entry because that kind of negates the other ones, but I feel like this was the most complete entry that you've done in a while with Mr. Recetti.
In looking back, most likely. Like, I haven't been this successful as a character in a show, period. Never made it to the finals before. Closest I ever got was Gumshoe at the last running Kraken. Rest in peace, Kraken.
we
But you are also now gone.
we miss Kraken. I miss Kraken.
I miss Kraken, and to be
Moment of
honest,
silence.
Yeah, Kraken. R.I.P.
and there's actually a lot I feel that last Kraken show kind of had similar to this mag show. I was not able to attend last year's mag show, so I don't know if this is a continued through line because I should have, but did not do my preparatory research and look at how last mag went. But that Kraken show felt very experimental. We did a lot of stuff that we wouldn't do at a more, I guess, established show or a larger show. The thing to point out is that both Miss Mag and Kraken had Rachel as Ebony, Darkness, Dementia, Raven, Wwe, a character that she is so good at playing, and I have such mixed emotions about. Uh, like at Kraken, we just threw up the stream chat for her to yell at onto a screen.
Yeah. The last Kraken show was, I think, experimental is the best word to describe, because we had Ebony, we had Tommy Wiseau, we had Billy Mays. It was definitely kind of like throw whatever at the wall and it sticks, and that spirit definitely carried over to MagWest 2019. Let me go ahead and read.
Kraken was the origin of the I Love Dick chant for Dick Gumshoe, which is really where I started getting any momentum with Dick Gumshoe, that I then turned into storyline stuff instead of competition.
And hey, it resulted in a 1-year storyline payoff.
Yes, it worked very well. I don't think it would have worked as well without me doing so well at Kraken competing as Dick.
But here,
and I felt that Mag had a very similar vibe, except way more packed and yet way more efficient than a lot of. I don't want to say this has been our most efficient use of time in a show, but it's got to be up there.
Well, technically I wouldn't say it's quote unquote efficient, because we had to rely on the grace period between panels.
Yes, but
How did you manage to fit everyone in?
Well, all right. Before we go into that, I want to at least read off the roster, because we're telling the chat how crazy the roster is, and we should at least tell them the roster. Oh, we had President Mike from My Hero Academia, Jigglypuff, CM Puff, Dungeon Master Guy Fieri, that's Guy Fieri as a Dungeons and Dragons player, Dr. Eggman, Isabel with Tom Nook, hi Theresa,
Hi.
Winter Soldier, Mr. Recetti, hi Jack,
Yo.
Cass, Breath of the Wild, Edward Teach from Fate Grand Order, Ebony Darkness Dementia Ray, hi Rachel, Shaggy, Kamina, played by Ryan, and DMC Dante.
What a lot.
By Dante. And that's why I say it's very efficient, because there's no way you choose all of those people and get through a show in 60 minutes.
Don't forget about Tsugimoto on the roster.
Oh, and Tsugimoto, right. Yeah, Tsugimoto was added at the end. Yes. I skipped him. Yeah, and Tsugimoto. Yeah, three...
Sorry to interrupt there, Jack.
No, that was...
You're fine.
No, that was a perfect reason to interrupt. Yeah, there was no way we were going to get that in 60 minutes. You're right about that, Jack.
So I say it's efficient because we expected to use some of that full 90.
Yeah.
And we ended up using not all of it, which was very surprising to me personally, because I thought we'd bump right into the mystery video.
Which, I did have a contingency plan for the mystery video because they were last, and I instructed the staff member if we cut in their time to just bleed it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't. That was 14 people in a show that ran an hour 21.
My God.
Wow.
Now, Theresa, you asked, how was I able to fit in all that? Well, it's because of ALA 2019.
How many people did you have?
ALA 2019, I want to say, Daniel's is in the chat, so he's going to correct me if I'm wrong. But ALA 2019 had at least 10 to 12 entries. We had Daniel pulling double duty as Yami Yugi and Skeletor. We had to introduce Iron Will and Mr. Dangerous as staff, so we had to get them over. They had to explain the rules. They had Lupin shenanigans. They also had Franziska von Karma making the video announcing that she wouldn't enter ALA, not to mention a triple threat final round. ALA had a lot of different things, and they finished within an hour 30. And that's when Kevin went, hey, if we could do that with ALA, with all that stuff, we could probably get similar results here. And with that confidence, I went, okay, there were people I was going to cut, but I was like, you know what? F it, we could do this. And we just told everybody on the front end, hey, brevity, we got to be really aggressive on time. We didn't even do as many shenanigans. There's not a lot of patter. Maddie Sheeta didn't say a lot, but we just did it.
I was honestly surprised at the size of the second round. I thought it was going to be an even harsher cut.
I did too, but like, y'all made my job hard.
Everyone was so incredible. Like, I was blown away by the talent this year.
Yeah, I think this might have been, person per person, one of our strongest shows, which I've been saying a lot recently, which is a good thing to find myself repeating, is that we've been, I think, this year and maybe the very tail end of 2018, just going from strength to strength to strength and getting even better individually and as a group in how we perform and how we are able to manage things like time and our character work. It's really heartening to look at MAG and go, this is the culmination of a lot of work a lot of people have been putting into it, getting very good at this thing we all do.
It's also really, there's an interesting trend ever since since ALA, which overall the promos have been getting shorter across the board. And that's just
we're getting better at compacting.
Yeah, everybody's getting better at compacting. And Jack and I had this amazing moment because we had 30 minutes. Every panel has a 30-minute window in the beginning and at the end. This is two parts because, one, the registration system only allows me to schedule panels in blocks of 30 minutes, and two, we avoid doing back-to-back panels because if somebody runs over, it just messes up everything along the line. So in that 30 minutes, Jack and I realized a dream they'll be wanting for a long time. That's tech rehearsal.
Oh my god, I have to say, if you weren't present or as a fan weren't able to be present, we had a sort of a Discord chat with some of the new performers, which where Mag was their first time.
3 of them.
I think yes, I think wait, this is the strongest debut of a show ever. All three of our first time performers were outstanding. Uh, like we expected a lot, and they went way over even our expectations. So congratulations to them especially. But there was some I don't remember who specifically asked is like, do we normally have time to like uh test our music or the mics? And we kind of laughed because no, we don't ever
Because
have time.
we're not allowed in the room.
We're lucky if they've completely cleared out the room at places like Fanime in time for us to get in the back before the panel starts.
Or
But
at Krakencon, the stage is out in the open, so if we're doing tech checks, we're ruining the show.
the show. But then we have a full. 'Cause I don't think the panel before us went over at all.
No, they did not go over.
So we had a full 30 minutes of like everyone got around to just use the mic and figure out mic placement, which is, as we all the performers know, the most important thing technically. I think to the performance, it's beyond the character work or the is the mechanics of making sure people can hear you.
I consider mic work the #1 killer of new
Yes.
entries.
Having experienced that repeatedly in multiple #1 entries, both as a manager and as a performer, if your mic skill, if your mic placement is not sufficient so that people can hear you, you are dead. You are gone. You have lost the crowd. Even if you can recover later, there's no recovering from it. Not really as much of a worry in a room that only holds, 90 people. There were times in my promo I pulled the mic away just to scream, and people could hear me just fine as a impact statement. But just having the opportunity to figure out how close do I need to be to whisper? How far away do I need to pull back to yell and not burst anything?
Yeah.
How loud do I have to be at a normal pace?
It's
Amazing.
amazing. We during when we walked in, the first thing we did was close the doors. We had time to set our subs down, pick our placement. Andrew was plugging in all his cords. Andrew runs sound phenomenally, immaculate, no problems. Love it. He's a godsend on the
It's
team. Outstanding. And it was at that moment when I got on the mic to get everyone's attention. It's like, hey, everybody use this time to get on the mic. It was just kind of like this flash in my head. I went, people could practice on the mic, and that helped people find their spot. And at that point, Eli requested, hey, can we work out my entrance? Because she played her own theme music on an accordion, so we wanted to see if it would carry. And we all got out, and she's walking down, and that's when I leaned over to Jack and went, hey, Jack, we have tech rehearsal. Which Jack went, we have tech rehearsal.
It's true.
Because it was something that we lamented at the Fanime show, which was the Lupin belt heist, which went over well. It didn't go over in my brain absolutely perfect, but the only way it could have gone perfect was if we had tech rehearsal.
Absolutely. And it even before we started doing Eli's entrance makers, that worked. Having the time to figure out where the mic placement was so that Eli can be heard and the accordion can be heard on the mic, or AJ's present mic, figuring out where we needed to place the mic because of the costume restrictions.
Yeah, the costume restrictions.
If we didn't have the tech time to figure that out, that could have been it.
There were
mic.
Yeah, there were things that we found where you wouldn't want to discover them in the show. Like AJ had arm restrictions, so she couldn't really hold the microphone to her mouth. which is a big thing.
Yeah, like we said, number one killer.
Number one killer. And just figuring out the pathways, people getting a feel for the aisle was really helpful. Ian double checking his music with Andrew so that it played at the right moment. They were actually working out the time cue for that. And we had no pressure to rush because we had 30 minutes and no one else was in the room that we didn't authorize to, like, awkwardly stare at us.
It was extremely good. I've been nodding along the entire time you've been explaining this in this podcast audio format, so it's been very unhelpful. But exactly.
One thing I'd like to hear about before the podcast is how Theresa felt during the show. She debuted at the last MagWest and won this one. Yes, Rachel, we're getting to that when we break down the entries. Actually, Theresa,
Yeah.
how did you feel about your performance?
I mean, I'm glad it went over as well as it did. I am always going to be critical. Like, I'm pointing out all the things that I did wrong, but I am just so thrilled that the audience reacted the way they did. And bouncing off of Jack, your Mr. Recetti was so...
Oh,
There were... Oh, no, keep going.
I was just going to say, it's so nice since last year, it was my first time, and I was so afraid to even just stand up in front of people, let alone perform. And everybody in CWF was so encouraging and sweet. And this time, I got to kind of help encourage the new people, and going up there was so much less scary. It's amazing how much difference a few shows can make.
You also had a meaner streak this time, which just shows your confidence because you trust us enough to be mean.
This time I was able to be like, hey, it's... Sorry, go ahead.
So it was a powerful passive aggression.
I remember my first one, G was like, you're being a little too politician trying to appease the crowd. And this time I was able to not worry because hopefully everyone understood it was just for fun.
Well, it also helped that you had Sean with you holding a bat, so it really helped put over that you're here to fight as opposed to you're here to do paperwork. I mean, you did do paperwork, but that little aesthetic change really pushed it to pro wrestling visuals.
Thanks for letting him in, by the way. He had a lot of fun with this, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, every time I saw Sean, he was smiling from ear to ear.
Oh.
Which also made it very easy to be very heelish at him because, like, wipe that grin off your face, Yuki. I don't know where Guillotine Feed came from. After the show, I had to ask a group, did I call Tom Nook Guillotine Feed repeatedly?
You were amazing.
Can I ask the two of you a quick question?
Of course.
Of course.
Were there any segments of your acts, either the final round or your promo, where you just don't remember what you said, but you knew you said something?
Ooh.
I mean, Guillotine Feed for Jack.
The whole last round was a kind of a blur for me.
You know what that means? Do you know what it means when your act is a blur?
No.
In performance class, they call it subconscious competence, which is the ultimate state of performing, where you're good, but you don't know what you did. Because you're bad and you don't know why you're bad, consciously competent, and then incompetent and competent, conscious and unconscious. Then you mix it up. So,
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we're in tier 3, consciously competent. We're good and we know why, but you want to ascend to tier 4, and when you ascend to tier 4. The people who ascend to tier 4 are the ones that win. Like when Jeremy went like really crazy the year he won, or when Alex won the belt again against the Freaky Fish guy, or when Daniel was Skeletor.
Huh.
Like, it's kind of like it's like Rock Lee taking off the weights, or if you watch Kuroko no Basket, The Zone, where you pretty much take all those mental restraints in your brain and they just shatter, and it's just one-to-one feeling to performance.
It goes from considered to reflexive, and it becomes so much more natural to do because you're not exhausting conscious thought on, say, this and then this and then this and then this. It's just flowing in a natural state.
Yeah, AJ I thought that was just anxiety. Well, anxiety plays a part of it. Anxiety allows you to reach in it puts you in a mind state that you're not normally in, and then when you don't feel like yourself, you're not going to act like yourself, and when you're not playing yourself, that's actually a boon.
I think it's the idea that you're not overthinking it with your anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's always going to be nervousness, but once
yeah.
you've reached that point,
It's it's almost kind of like going Super Saiyan, and everybody I've gotten to the point where I could sense when it's happening. I usually say, like, the golden wind of momentum. I could see it. I know that sounds very pretentious, but I could see it. Like, it's almost like you're glowing on stage. I was like, that person's taking it right now.
Actually, I think you'll find it's more like Ultra Instinct. Get it right.
But now we could talk about Theresa and Jack all day, and that would be a very pleasant and fun and insightful conversation. But it would be very dishonest to the rest of the team if we leave them out in the cold, because they were.
Everyone was so good.
I could go on for hours about them.
We could run down the list. I mean, okay, we got AJ. We got AJ as President Mike, #1 entry.
Whew.
Always hard, and she made the brilliant choice after workshopping to not pull just from her own canon. If you looked at it, she pulled a lot of inspiration from radio DJs. Like, I'm laying in the sick beats.
Yes. Oh, she was able to really make it feel like you were listening to a show, not just hearing about a character's story.
But there's also a nice double entendre because it's sick beats and it's a fight.
Yes.
And I think what really made it great was she conveyed so much of the character, so much information of the character without going, my name is President Mike, I'm a teacher here, my power is this, I want to do it. It's not resume.
It felt like she was actually opening the show, like getting everyone's energy hype.
Yes, especially because we didn't have much in the way of a show opening before the first round. We didn't have a Lasheda introduction. We didn't have Lasheda giving really any speech because time constraints.
Well, we did have Maddie Sheeta get early heat.
True.
But that was it. Normally we have a lot more preamble. Like, we did not have enough time to ramp up the crowd.
And it turns out, with AJ going on first, we didn't need to.
Yeah, we didn't need to.
Because President Mike did it.
It just, from Jump Street. And now, this was an entry for you, Ian, listening. Jack specifically wanted to talk about you.
I do.
Yes.
I want to talk about a specific moment that we all can learn from, specifically in relation to Ian's round 1 moment, where, if it's okay to reveal this, Ian, we went to dinner after the show, as normally CWF does, but we kind of split into separate groups after the show, and Ian showed a couple of us that he had written out a full promo for the round 1. Like, there are bits of that promo that got delivered, mostly about that mosh pit metaphor. Everything else sprung entirely from that one guy basically heckling and calling him a Fanime failure, causing him to pivot entirely into what he actually delivered, which was, I think, the closest anyone's gotten in the CWF, at least as far as I've seen, to delivering a real ass wrestling pro.
Yes.
No, that was the thing. I leaned over to Kevin after Ian was done, and I went, "Yo, this is a real promo." He's like, "Yeah, it was good." I was like, "No, this is a real promo." And
Like-
it's one of the few 180s. So one of the few successful 180s.
Yeah, it was extremely impressive because, due to the nature of the CWF, where the competition is about the delivery of the promo, the monologue, we try to keep as close to the format of a wrestling promo as we do, but it, at the end of the day, is slightly different. And that's not a bad thing. That, I think, speaks to how many effective performers we've had in the CWF that don't have much in a background of consuming wrestling media. But the way Ian allowed himself not to go for the most powerful promo, because outside of context, it was revealing weakness does not do well in the CWF, especially in the first round where you're not reacting to another character coming at you, but just reacting to the crowd and going, "Yeah, I screwed up. Here's what I felt after I screwed up. Here's why I'm not going to screw up again." Is, again, outside of the context, unless you wouldn't go into round one going, "So I'm gonna say I screwed up. I'm gonna explain how I felt after I screwed up, and now I'm not gonna screw up again." You wouldn't plan to do that.
Yeah, you would not blow your first impression on that.
Absolutely
I mean,
not.
that's
The
like
entire first impression is
it's
fuck
common
yourself
sense.
up.
It's common sense. Even like right now, if someone were to tell me, "Hey, G, I'm gonna do that," I'd be like, "What are you doing?" In fact, most of no, the entire team would say that. It broke a lot of convention.
And it just goes to show that you follow the rules until you're good enough to know when they are effectively broken. And Ian is obviously in that spot of experience and technique, because Hachimachi, that promo was off the chain.
Not to mention, it was a promo that used the number one skill of CWF, and that's listening. He listened,
He knew.
and then he pivoted.
It's so hard to pull off a turn like that, and to win over the audience that thoroughly, it was incredible.
And here's another detail worth mentioning, because when you watch CWF and when you watch wrestling, you judge it by number of reaction and volume. It's like, if the crowd is going constantly, that's what your litmus test is. But there's another way to judge a good promo, and you saw this in Mr. Wendell when he his second performance on stage, is when you have engaged silence.
Yeah.
Because people fear quiet. They fear that. And in reality, it's not about getting the crowd to go crazy every time. It's about getting the crowd to go crazy when you want them to go crazy. And a good indicator that you're doing well is when you say something, people shut up.
They want to hear it.
They want to hear it. Very few people can pull that off all the time. It's hard. It's a combination of good writing, good listening, good character work, good timing, and utter confidence in yourself. I'm blessed that I can do that, but a big indicator of that is because I'm a bad guy. So people want to hear more so they could just get mad at me. And I cheat, right? they're quiet because I just wait for them to get tired.
Mhm.
But this is a whole different level.
And it would have been so easy just to like ignore it or just throw it back in whoever's face.
Or is it like F this, I'm a bad guy now.
So good.
So good.
Mhm.
And Ian is an exemplary example of inhabiting a character. Sure, there are other CWF performers who are equally as good, but Ian would be my go-to because of the amount of work he puts into existing as the CM Puff Jigglypuff, not just during like conventions or even like not even during the show, not even during conventions. In the downtime between those, he is always on his character Twitter doing things or planning things to do as the next show approaches. It's really inspiring.
Which
And I'm glad that like this is, I don't want to say the peak of it, but this is just shows how much the work Ian puts in pays off during the actual rubber on the road performance.
but an element that we're not talking about is that it's one thing to have the plan, but a strength to Ian and a lot of people is, you know, you can get too invested in your way, but Ian's very flexible and he listens and adapts. So while he makes all these plans, he's not like, this is my way, and he doesn't write that line. But anyway, Ian, that was fantastic. Let's go ahead. Nico with Guy Fieri.
Nico.
Let's go ahead.
Oh.
Let's go ahead and swing on the opposite end in terms of where CM Punk was very like humble and sincere. Here comes Guy Fieri like a sledgehammer.
Where do we even start?
Well, Mag means a lot to Nico because this is where he got his first win.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right.
He got his first win as Jiraiya, and it's really fun. While it's when you're going through a phase of just trying to find the right character, you as the performer, it's very frustrating. But us as the audience, it's really it's a real fascinating procedure when it's like trying on shoes. And right now, Nico is still breaking in Guy Fieri. He likes the design and he likes the brand, but he's still trying to like really make it sing. And it's just fun watching him experiment. Like he's got the Thanos glove, and I remember he messaged me. He's like, "I'm Dungeon Master Guy Fieri." I went, "Oh, what?"
It's so great because all of the Guy Fieri promos I've seen Nico deliver have the same, I guess, whatever the model equivalent of a bone structure is. Like, you know the Guy Fieri beats that are going to be hit, but they're going to be hit by such different and weird angles that you have no idea what's going to come up next.
Yeah, one of the lines that went over really well, which I helped co-write, but when he said he was a Dungeons Master, I was like, oh, dude, you gotta do Dungeons, Dragons, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Like, it just worked out by sheer happenstance that Dungeons and Dragons is also an alliteration of D. I was like, you gotta put that in your name.
I'm amazed he said that clearly.
Oh yeah, dude, it's a tongue twister. It is a mouthful. And also finding the right order, because is it Diners, Drive-Ins, Dungeons and Dragons, and Dives, or...
He's really good at what?
I do like he split Dungeons and Dragons, where it was Dungeons and Diners and Dragons and Dive-Ins and Drive-Ins and Dives.
And it's just real fun to see, and again, it really speaks to a technique we like to do right now. We've been working on. It's called Tertiary References, where Nico not only just used the Guy Fieri memes, but he used like kitchen lingo and preparing food, so that he had multiple sources of inspiration to draw from.
Mm-hmm. He's so good at controlling his cadence too. Like the way he speaks, he's really good at commanding a presence.
And his physicality, he has this really funny kind of old man shuffle to him, Like, he doesn't lift his knees.
True.
He doesn't lift his knees. He just kind of, like, waddles in, which... I don't want to say like a penguin, but you don't ever see his knees rise above his waistline.
Hey, can someone draw Guy Fieri as a penguin, please?
Okay. Speaking of small animals, we have John as Dr. Robotnik, one of many new entries. First off, Robotnik has been an entry we've been clamoring for. We want more Sonic and CWF.
Yes. It was the number 2 most requested, I believe, would be Dr. Eggman or Dr. Robotnik.
We all want Robotnik.
Yeah.
And,
Number 1 is of course Fat Goku.
Oh yeah, Fat Goku.
Yeah.
And I gotta hand it to John where this is one of those entries where you see this in new people where even if the execution isn't there, you can at least see the blueprint. Especially with walking down with his hands clasped behind his back and twitching his mustache. Like, oh, like you can tell you just don't want to like this guy. And he was so receptive with feedback.
It was tough because everyone has so many expectations for Eggman, but he was able to meet, like, I think excel beyond those. Like, he made it his own.
Especially had fun with Doctor when he first said, "I'm Dr. Eggman." We went, "Oh, hold it. Emphasize the Doctor. You're a heel. Really drill that in. You're smarter." Because I was actually thinking about his entry a lot this morning, believe it or not. Just because it's such a clear thesis of the difference of a babyface and a heel, where a babyface tries to play themselves down and show how they're similar to the audience, while heel is always trying to separate themselves from the crowd.
Oh, I didn't look at it like that.
Which is why it was very beneficial for him. He's not Eggman. He's Dr. Eggman. That little bit right there changes the entire flavor.
It really does. I wish there was more to say, but all I can just keep thinking is, that was fun.
Yeah.
Like, just fun to listen to.
It was. I remember John workshopping a bit earlier before the performance where I believe it was either a preparation for What Chance or he was going to bait a What Chant, and I'm glad he didn't go with that because as an advice for everybody, don't bait a What Chant. Whatever clever technique you have to defuse the What Chant will die, because the What Chant cannot be defeated, it could only be compromised with,
I'll take it a step further. Don't write a promo expecting a certain reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Don't try and predict the audience.
Because if you don't get it, you're sunk. Now, you could write contingency plans. That's okay, but don't be like, they gotta come in, if I expect them to come in real hot for me. Don't do that.
Because they will come in cold for you if you expect
come in
them.
cold. Going up in now, Isabel with Tom Nook. Theresa already talked about that. And Jack, I did want to ask, since we never had an opportunity for you to share, what was your inspiration for Mr. Recetti and a little bit about the character's mindset?
So I've been trying to... All of my heel characters actually arise from something that happened 2 Fanimes ago when we were after a show talking with Donovan Troy in a hotel room. And Donovan told me he could never see me as a heel because I'm too nice. And my immediate response was, well, I'm going to prove Donovan Troy wrong. And I've not succeeded yet. Cause Mr. Recetti went a weird place. A lot of my heel work and a lot of the characters I like to inhabit, um, Ryan told me after the show, I think it's a good way to summarize it, is that it's just me, an aspect of me, but more so. Uh, and the only character I don't feel that's true is Detective Gumshoe. I don't have a lot of me in him because he's so unstoppably stupid that I I just don't need to bring any of myself into him because he kind of operates on autopilot because he has no higher brain function. It's all in the brainstem. Uh,
as seen
my
in
my, my
as seen in the I Love Dick chants, which Jack and I made sure to like we can't play this up like a joke. If Gumshoe treats it seriously, it's gonna be that much funnier.
yes. Or like during the one time Gumshoe had the anything goes belt, and loses to Skeletor, the moment he realizes something wrong is Skeletor called me smart, and I know for a fact that is not true.
Oh.
Which I think is the best line delivered to the CWF, probably until I started doing Mr. Recetti. But I decided to do Mr. Recetti as a heel because my brain's thought was that Mag's theme was going to be Animal Crossing.
Which
So what kind of character could I bring from Animal Crossing? And the one that jumped into my head immediately is Mr. Recetti, because I would love an excuse to buy a pair of overalls.
now I
Uh,
want to real quick. I just want to tell the chat that Jack has been working on this entry for months. I remember hearing about this thing well before Mag. Just for
I
context.
think the first time I mentioned it to you, which was already after I've been working on it for a bit, was during the new performer intro after we did new performance introduction before Fanimania. After we had a meeting with Marco uh, hanging around, I just mentioned it offhandedly to you.
Yeah,
And so I started thinking about, like, what does Mr. Ricity does and why do people not like him? And it's the fact that he is kind of a cop, but not in the way that we normally say when we say that person is like a cop. But it makes you address bad behavior that you do. And I realized that, so obviously in a wrestling promo, what sets Mr. Rossetti apart is what he's telling you not to do, he doesn't do it. So everything is about, like, resetting. Mr. Rossetti, despite his name, has never reset anything. Doesn't reset his games. Doesn't reset his life. Doesn't. It's like, what does reset mean outside the restriction of a video game being reset? Or what does it mean in the context of Animal Crossing if Animal Crossing was real? When you reset a game of Animal Crossing without saving, you've undone a day's worth of actions and consequences. So then Rossetti doesn't reset. So he takes care of the consequences of his actions. The audience doesn't. And then midway through the first round, they got into it anyway. I started trying. And again, this is why you don't script for a reaction. I didn't script for a reaction, but I went after. I haven't played Three Houses, so I just had to dive on Twitter and figure out which Fire Emblem is the most waifu of them, and apparently it's Bernadette. You reset Fire Emblem when you get your character killed, and it's too bad. Bernadette's dead and you killed her, which is, I think, the bet I put in for my app. And, like, you reset when your Pokemon don't have perfect EVs because it's not enough to make them fight in Bloodsport. Which I don't think is the actual thing in Pokemon, but. And then I had a bit in the promo that I literally just came up with earlier that morning because we had been we ended up letting Ken stay over in our hotel room because we had space. We were talking about where the name Lachey Decree comes from, and talking about, like, exemplary moments in drag. And so there was a drag performance I had not seen that involved, like, a drop from the ceiling into a split, and then later gets thrown. The performer gets thrown by another person into a perfect split. It's outstanding.
Oh yeah, I Need a Hero.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's I Need a Hero by, I forget the first two.
Just type
but
if you just type in I Need a Hero
yeah.
drag performance, you'll find it.
It's something Dupree. and Rachel mentioned it, and we were talking. It's like, so it's the hard times of drag performances, and then I'm like, wait, shit, because part of my bit was that Recetti does not have a position in the new Animal Crossing, and Nintendo literally said he was fired, so I was gonna build on that. But then I'm like, wait, hard times, fired promo, and so I did that bit where the computer doesn't need. He's like, "You've been replaced by a computer. The computer doesn't need you, Daddy." And then twisted that to, "That's not enough to reset. You need even with that, you have to deal with it." And the audience loved it, possibly because it's a wrestling reference, but possibly because they started digging that. And I realized that I couldn't play Mr. Recetti as much of a heel anymore when I got selected to the second round, which I did not expect. And then, of course, in the second round, I had that bit where I don't even answer Ishida's question. I go right at Isabella because I had joked several times like it'd be great to be the post Isabella and just be that meme. Don't you want to go apeshit? I'm like, I'm not getting into the third round, so I'll throw this now. And then I get called to the finals. I'm like, bitch. Oh geez. Oh gosh.
So a little bit of the backstage going on. Kevin and myself and Andrew, Kevin and Andrew had difficulty picking the finals. They knew one. We knew one, but we didn't know the other. And we were pairing it off, and I'm like, oh my god, these are all interesting matchups. And then Andrew just went, like, this could go this way, and that would be good. This could go this way, that would be good. But then he settles on YouTube. He's like, I think this is it. Because we're at MAG, Resetti's working heel, it's Animal Crossing, I think this will work. And I went, all right, I trust your instincts. And so we called it, and I remember the moment when I knew we made the right call. Was when they announced Isabel, crowds out, woo! And then versus Mr. Recetti, and it wasn't like normally when you call a heel up, it's not a boo. It was just like, oh shit, like, oh fuck. It was one of those.
Yeah, and the thing I ran into, I'm just gonna quote So Beautiful, So Ponderous in the chat here, who says, he was a heel, he tells it like it is. And again, I don't remember the exact words I said during the final or really parts of the second round, realizing that Mr. Recetti could not work as a straight heel when people are chanting for him wrongly because you're supposed to not reset. I think I yelled something about that. I don't remember that. I just went, I don't have anything to fill this with. I'm just going to I'm just going to stuff as much me into this as possible. Which then led to my most immediate personality trait, which is virulent socialism. Which really kind of flavored my approach to the final, which is coming up with Tom Nook. It's like, okay, there's my angle of attack, because I'm not going to out-heel Isabella facing. It's not going to happen. You can't.
It's kicking
Teresa's
a puppy.
Too strong to go. Teresa's too strong unless I go at it from an orthogonal angle.
It's actually like what happened with when it was the same thing with North Carolina, where Justin was like, I'm fighting a burrito. How do I do this? I can't fight him directly. It was a final round. But hey, let's go ahead and move on to intermission. And then after,
Can I just say how?
Oh yes, please go.
I just want to say how excited I was when I found out that the theme was Animal Crossing this year. I was already going to do Isabel just because she was my MAG character, and I just got so.
Oh, dude! The moment when the Animal Crossing theme was revealed, everybody was gnarly. In fact, the MAG. Did you know MAG has its own currency?
What?
Yeah, MAG has its own currency. It's called M points. You could win M points by winning tournaments or completing challenges, and M points are worth money. Like, one endpoint is $1.
Did I disconnect?
No, you
Because I can't hear anybody.
I could hear
Oh.
you.
Can you hear us now?
Jack, try re-entering. Oh, yeah, let me type that.
Oh no, Jack!
Oh, I'm back. Hey, I hear you all.
Ooh.
You do? Oh, good.
Oh, thank goodness.
Sorry, my connection can occasionally just not. Sometimes I apologize.
It's okay. But yeah, MagWest has its own currency, M points, and the M points were wooden cutouts of the Mag logo.
Cute.
Huh.
Just thought I'd throw that in. Mag takes theming very seriously. Okay, so after intermission, we had Eli open up with Cass with an accordion, which was our first.
That killed.
It killed, especially when she started playing all the Zelda music and everybody was cheering, and then she caps it off with Cruel Angel's Thesis, and half the manager's table just stood up, and the crowd was like, oh, one more time.
I would have been very interested to see where Eli went in round 2 with that.
We all were,
Mhm.
but we didn't have the time. And Eli mentioned to me that she was kind of happy because she would rather be in a show with more time with this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was this wonderful bit. I don't know if you saw this, Teresa and Jack, where when she was playing the Lon
Oh.
Ranch theme, and everybody's kind of swaying around. I'm Matt Ishida, so I'm swaying around too, and I'm smiling. And then midway, I catch myself that I'm smiling and liking it, and I slap myself, and then I get angry.
Yes, I saw that.
It was very good.
'Cause, again,
Those background things really make a difference.
oh yeah, it's real fun watching the three of us. The four of us. Isaac gets to react as honestly as possible. Same with Andrew. Kevin gets to downplay all the reactions, so if you see Lashida nod, that's great. And Ishida just does what a heel does and puts over the faces and the heels. But it's just probably our most unique entry in a long time.
Oh yeah.
One of them, because after that, here comes Robbie as Edward Teach. And if we want to talk about somebody with a mismatched reaction, I think
Ooh.
Robbie got it more than you did, Jack.
Poor Robbie.
Poor Robbie.
I don't want to say poor Robbie because it worked very well, but at the same time, Robbie comes back after after delivering all that, and was like, "They weren't supposed to agree with me," and that is always the danger of doing that kind. Like, be careful when you're doing like absolute garbage heels, because what's going to happen is you're going to find out the audience also agrees with you in ways that are kind of gross. Like,
I'm
it
hoping.
wasn't. Go ahead.
I'm just hoping it was a case of the audience being like, haha, this is so silly and ridiculous, and he's having so much fun with it, kind of an ironic joy. I hope.
Yeah, and like 98% of what the agreement was with was like, okay, audience is horny on main, but none of it's too terrible. Because like the real bad stuff, Robbie only had barely a second to throw in because he was really close to time limit.
I think it's less of what he said, and it's more so the reason why the audience liked it was with the sincerity of what he said. As in, there's kind of something admirable with being a piece of shit and acknowledging you're a piece of shit and just rolling with it. That is
Fair.
almost heroic.
There are in fact entire literary genres about how it is absolutely heroic. Most of those kind of suck though.
So,
Like morally, some of them are the greatest works of literature ever written, but like, Lord Byron, you're canceled.
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's what they were latching onto. And since Robbie played a character reaffirming the audience as opposed to attacking the audience, it was easier to read as a face than a hero. That's my theory. But I think what is most impressive about this entry is that this is Robbie, who's always been playing upstanding, very just, very good people. And now he's playing garbage.
He was testing some of the lines on me, G, and Rachel. We got a bite to eat about a couple hours before before CWF started. And man, good lord. Just felt like, one, these would make my skin crawl if anyone said them, but Robbie, please.
It also helped that Robbie, whenever he brought up a character, he always asked the performer if it was okay. Like, Robbie wanted everyone to be comfortable with what he said, and also he wanted himself to be comfortable knowing, like, hey, everybody I talk about, they're cool with it, and I got permission, so he didn't have to, have that lingering in his head. But there were just a lot of really nice details, like his pirate strut.
Oh god, that weird crab
Yes.
walk that we workshopped
Which
in
was
the middle of...
which was the opposite of Guy Fieri, because all he did was lift his knees really high.
Extremely good.
He knew exactly what terrible tropes to bring up. The audience loved, I think, every one of his lines.
For better or worse.
Yeah.
Yep.
But in Robbie's mind, he's like, why? Stop!
I'm sure
Stop!
that around the time there was a section of the audience, God, even if I'm just reporting it, forgive me for there was a legal lolly chant. And I'm sure at that point Robbie's
Wait,
like,
what?
Yeah, they chanted legal lowly.
That's what they were saying? Oh, I didn't make that out. Oh.
it was real bad. And I'm just feeling for Robbie as he doesn't show it, but I'm sure part of him
The beard
is
helps.
just curdling with...
The beard helps.
Yeah,
Oh.
a lot of great artificial facial hair in this show. Haven't mentioned it yet, but both Eggman and Blackbeard coming out with
and Guy
some
Fieri.
really good, and Guy coming out with some real great facial hair.
By far, Robbie's was Kevin's favorite act.
It was
admit,
so
I do
fun, and I
laugh.
feel bad.
But I think it was okay that he didn't get picked, because now he's got more time to season it and really...
Yes.
Because I went over some notes, and I told him why it didn't hit in the places he wanted to hit, which I'm not going to share because, that's,
Personal notes.
yeah, it's personal notes, and I don't want the crowd to learn all of our secrets. But I'll tell you guys after the broadcast of why it didn't hit in the places. My theory, but it that deserves more time and a stronger incarnation to get into the finals.
Yes.
All right, now let's go on to...
Also was reminded, and you want to also state, Present Mike also had a great stage mustache.
Yes, thank you, Green Room. Oh,
And that hair.
Ebony
my God.
Darkness.
Dementia
Rachel.
Raven Way.
Dementia Raven Way. Who managed to out cringe her Krakencon entry, which was great.
I am torn because the Krakencon has that trumps the theater of putting the stream chat up for her to react to, but outside of that, so for a character that Rachel basically said, I'm going to do something that's only for me, to work that well is... I have so many conflicting feelings, both about the character and sometimes the costume. But the bit where only true goths can hear this song and she starts punching buttons on a Guitar Hero controller, and half the audience starts screaming about how great the song is. Ugh!
And some people were throwing out devil horns like, yeah! Oh, first, hello, Christian290. Welcome to the green room. If you went to Mag and want to share your thoughts, please type them out and we'll read them on air. But Rachel found a way to both put over Matt as a heel and bury him at the same time. When she said Matt Ishida promised me the main stage and said I'd get an hour on stage, I was like, oh, I feel flattered and thrown under the bus all at once. Oh, by the way, side note, I ate a lot more shit in this show than normal.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay.
It feels like you did a lot more. You were a lot more active in the middle of promo. Most probably because we didn't have time between promos for you to snark. But you were very active and were very attacked a lot during the show, more so than usual.
Yeah.
And it was very good.
It didn't help that Isaac started the attacks, and since Isaac's the announcer who's always seen as kind of like the conscience, when the conscience attacks the heel, all bets are off. Which, by the way, pro tip for anybody putting on the show, typically your MC is the show's conscience. So, you typically want them to be neutral. But Isaac wasn't.
No.
No.
I think you actually mean Donovan Troy wasn't. I believe I showed you that tweet.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, Donovan Troy. Yeah, shout-outs to Donovan Troy, who was our MC.
There was a tweet thanking
tweet.
Donovan Troy for MCing, and upon realizing this, Isaac took a look at how he was dressed and was like, oh, I'm literally just cosplaying Donovan.
And it didn't help that Donovan tweeted that.
Kind of. Not on purpose, but beautiful accident.
Beautiful. Okay. But, before I move on, before we talk more about Rach, I just wanted to talk about how I think Robbie is in this very interesting space right now, where he's, after doing Moomin Rider for so long, he's trying to find a new niche, and it's really fascinating to see where he'll fall. Now, back to Rachel and her guitar solo just randomly hitting buttons. We all laughed. That was great.
Oh, it was such a beautiful thing to do, and just start screaming out nonsense lyrics. Oh my god.
And calling Isaac a prep.
I think it was it's the first time I really enjoyed a character version of Ebony.
Well, she only had two.
Well, like any version of Enemy, not in CWF, but anywhere.
Oh, you're aware of the character. Oh, before that, I'm sorry.
Rachel she calls herself a scholar of My Immortal the fan fiction. She has a perverse affection for this strange.
Are you guys still talking?
Oh, yes, we are. Uh-oh. Did we lose Theresa? Potentially.
Internet ephemera.
Here we
Are we good?
Yes. Hello?
Awesome.
Yes.
Hello.
Rachel, scholar.
Of that beautiful piece of strangeness that could only exist in a very specific time and place and only on the internet. That I'm sure there is something equally as strange and odd and obscure that we have in our hearts. But you can really see both the affection and the derision is a bit of a strong word, but a softer version of derision that Rachel has for this thing in the way that she portrays Enemy.
It also says a lot how well she went over, given how I'm gonna say that 70% of that crowd did not know who the character was.
There was a lot of that. Yeah.
Yes, but it's so representative of a certain time and place that even if you don't know what My Immortal the fanfiction is, you can sort of immediately pick up, oh, this is that 2000X bit.
Yeah,
That
you
culture.
you met that person.
You may have been that person. You have been near a hot topic when you were in high school.
Now, here next is the last of our entries. Sachi Tsugimoto, played by Julian, who were this is gonna sound like a backhanded compliment, but I mean this with utmost sincerity. He kept up.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And when you're new, that's all you need to do is just keep up. Just match the level of quality, and you're okay.
I think my connection went dead again.
Hello, we still
Hey, yeah,
hear us?
we're back. I'm back now. I'm just
Yes.
gonna give it a
Oh,
good
good.
minute before I start worrying about people being able to hear me, I guess.
Meanwhile, Gigi, I'll go ahead and read the green room. Christian29D writes, automatic Elias style heat. Gigi Professor talks about Ebony as, I get it, she's hot topic. Rachel admits she was that person when she was like 12, lol.
I hope
Yeah,
Rachel's eyes are okay. That was a lot of eyeliner.
yeah, she's fine. It was. I love watching her get ready because she'll always say, I'm gonna take everything I know about applying makeup to my face and do the opposite.
Oh.
Which is kind of like just the bit from Kung Pao Enter the Fist, where we trained him wrong, as a joke. Prepare to eat my face to foot style.
I'm bleeding, that means I'm winning.
Whew.
But yeah, I wanted to talk about Tsugimoto, which was another character that we workshopped. We've never had 3 new people join outside of shows that break into new territories. And I gotta admit that Tsugimoto probably had the biggest handicap walking in.
Yes, because it's
Mm-hmm.
at a con that is not super anime focused. And it's from, a manga and anime that's not super currently in the general atmosphere because
The general
that anime
subconscious.
premiered 2 years ago and it only had one season, and the manga is still ongoing, but it's not like setting the world. Well, the audience at Mag is not guaranteed to be the kind of people who are reading a bunch of manga.
And even then, in addition to those handicaps, compared to present Mike, is that Tsugimoto doesn't have a lot of as many immediate character visual signifiers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least ones that were allowed to perform on the stage at MagWest.
Yeah, you can't kill a bear.
You can't kill a bear. You can't get stabbed and then beat up the dude who stabbed you.
Not
Unfortunately.
with that attitude.
Yeah. Well, correction. We can't do that twice. And really, it might be the greatest circus trick in the world, but if you can only perform it for the recruiter, you've got a problem.
Well, we did kill a fish. But it wasn't a bear.
Oh.
The point is that present Mike has a lot, can get his, AJ could get present Mike's character out a lot more in a faster amount of time, leaving the rest to just build the personality. Tsugimoto, you're bogged down by a lot more baggage.
Yes.
You have to be able to get across your character a lot quicker.
But I'm happy that he did this, he debuted here. Because now that he has that not ideal circumstances as his first time, when the runway is cleared, he's gonna take off a lot farther.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's the big silver lining. He's already gotten his practice in unideal circumstances. So what happens when the stage is set in an audience that's softball to him? Because there's a lot of
a
lot of things he did right. He had a lot of enthusiasm. His body language was there. His look is on point.
Mm-hmm.
He was probably the best dressed person up there.
Wood for a hometown pop always works.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Christian 419. If only CRM Mag merged a few years ago when the cons happened at the same time and place. We tried that. It's a little difficult because Crunchyroll is an actual industry, an actual company, so there's a lot more red tape to get through and hurdle. While it was fun that we were next to each other, ultimately, I think for the better health of both events, that going separate was the best way to go. Rachel writes, Julian also asked for a lot of feedback. We had a long chat afterwards because he did as well and he really wanted to know what he could do after the next time. Julian was just eager, and I mean that the best way possible. The eager beaver.
Yeah, you could see that, like, even in his promo, that energy, which was
infectious.
To the benefit of the promo. It was great.
Oh, remember, and also, he got to play Billy Mays' customer service agent, and he just lapped it up. It was great. He was so cheesedly happy. I can't ask for more. All right, moving on from Julian, we have now here's an interesting one. Shaggy Bryce playing Shaggy. This was another this was a fully realized character, like Ian levels, where you had the voice, you had the mannerisms, the fact that he incorporated all the Shaggy mythos into this, I'm hungry for adrenaline, man.
The direction that he took Shaggy in this promo, I'm trying to remember, has Bryce played Shaggy between now and the last, not
Boat.
second to last Sac show?
Boat show.
Okay, I didn't have the pleasure of watching Boat
but
show.
He hasn't had a full broadcast performance until now.
And just it is night and day, the direction of the character between when I saw him at Sac and I saw him at Mag. And it's so great because of, especially knowing and interacting with Bryce outside of the performance.
How not Shaggy he is.
Bryce is a powerfully laconic, low-key, and then he can just
basically Bryce
turn it on and just well, bam.
Bryce he talks like this, yes, I get it, and he has a very subdued personality and a very booming, deep voice. So just hear man go with old Shaggy.
Such a shift.
It was also a promo that picked up more of the audience, like a Katamari ball, as it went on.
Mm-hmm.
Where
it started as what you would expect a Shaggy monologue to be, but then it's actually, you idiots, you absolute fools, I love being scared. I go out here on purpose because I literally cannot get enough of just doing the most dangerous thing possible. I am disappointed when it is a man in a rubber mask.
I want a monster. Yeah, that was a great spin. It's I'm in the mystery game because I want the thrill, and I could eat till I'm full, but I'm never full of the thrill.
Just wow.
So much more interesting.
Yes.
And I love when you have that angle to go on with your character, so they're really fighting for something.
And it's got so much space to go forward from here, too.
It is, and it's funny how we have Shaggy, and there is nothing cowardly about this Shaggy. It's he doesn't even acknowledge that he's a coward. It's just I'm badass all this time. It's okay. One entry I skipped over just because of spacing is Justin as Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to leave him in the cold, especially when I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I just it's just because I was being sincere, and then I caught myself damn it. Justin does what Justin wants to do. That's the best way to put it. He's probably the most formless performer we have on the team next to Mark. And
yeah,
I'm having trouble describing the entry.
well, and I feel really weird. I don't want to drill down too much in this, but I know that Justin was not very satisfied with the way the entry went down. Um, so I don't want to belabor it over much.
Yeah.
But it just seemed that, in this instance, that Justin was unable to bounce back from the audience not grabbing onto a bit.
However, we would be remiss to say that Justin has had a fantastic year.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a matter of it's not a failing in Justin in general. It's just that in this specific time and place, something didn't connect, and he wasn't able to shift to a different way to connect.
Because I do want to talk about how Justin, he's been having a really good year.
He has been.
Oh yeah.
From the boat show to Daikon, going up against Tommy Wiseau, doing really well in North Carolina at Queen City Anime Con. Like, Justin, when he first entered the CWF, he was always kind of like in the background. He was kind of like the guest character in an anime where he'd pop in and then pop out and then maybe pop in if the plot required more people. But he's slowly and subtly and just become not only a mainstay performer like a character, but just a mainstay on the team. We now like openly know who Justin is. It's, you know, he's part of us. He's like hyper integrated.
Absolutely.
But
He's really stands out for himself. People recognize him.
oh, he's tall.
Well, yeah, that too.
But you know, I didn't want to end that on a sour note because
Of course.
yeah, if again it's a good year and he's always
He's gonna bounce back.
Yeah, he's gonna bounce back and he's always so close to the big one, but he hasn't hit it yet, and that's okay. That's completely okay. Like people will find their groove eventually.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Now here's a surprise one. If we want to talk about playing against type, it's Kamina, played by Ryan.
Speaking of Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, speaking of Tommy Wiseau, this Ryan played Kamina, which I
so
had to
glad
admit, I'm all like, you. When I first read that, I'm like, you sure? I'm like, you sure about this, Ryan? Part of it was like, again, it's very atypical because Ryan's an engineer, very methodical. He's very precise in how he like breaks things down. If you ever want something broken down, Ryan's your man. Like in anything, like a process or behavior, he's got you, right? So seeing him pick a character that's boisterous, loud, and kind of dumb, like, I didn't know he could do it. I had faith in him, but I didn't know if he could do it.
I've been actually sort of privy to the fact that this has actually been a long time coming. Mostly because Ryan has been wanting to move away from a character like Tommy Wiseau, and we've had a lot of conversations about what makes Tommy an effective character, but what also limits Ryan's growth as a performer by being Tommy, especially in Tommy's reaction to other performers.
Yeah, Tommy can't reply directly.
Can just not.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that it's creative, but it's also not fun. Like,
Yes,
you gotta
like
dance around them.
the weakness of Tommy Wiseau in growing as a performer in the CWF is that Tommy Wiseau is a character that the audience will believe if you break the fundamental improv. If someone went at Tommy Wiseau, and then Tommy Wiseau's response, "No, it wasn't, silly puppy," the audience would eat that up. Any other character, they'd be like, "No, you actually have to do something. You have to acknowledge that someone came at you." But Tommy's so solipsistic that you don't. Kamina is the opposite of solipsistic. He is 100% aware of at all times about what people think of him, and if it's not good enough, he has to be even manlier and even more hot-blooded until they understand that he is the coolest man alive.
There's also something really, I would assume that's very refreshing about being Kamina, is that almost every baby face has to, when they do a comeback, they can't go hard unless it's a heel. Kamina can call anyone a dumbass, and it's okay. Because it's Kamina. He's as blunt, he's as subtle as a sledgehammer. He gets...
I still love...
I mean, he's still a good guy. I mean, there's probably certainly, like, you wouldn't call Isabel a dumbass, but at the same time, he gets to be direct, he gets to be upfront, he gets to be aggressive, and it's all on brand, because that's how he treats his fellow heroes.
Yes. I loved the line about, if you don't know who I am, you've been under a rock for 20 years, but that's okay, because I've also been under a rock for 20 years. It's extremely good.
Also, it's like, I care about manly combining.
Yes. One thing that was I think a misfire, and we went with Ryan and Ellie after the show to dinner, was that going at Skeletor was a mistake. I will say, or at least the way that Ryan went at Skeletor was a mistake, because no Skeletor at MagWest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typically, you don't. So you want to keep everything in the immediate.
Yeah. So, what Ryan was saying was a suggestion that was floated was that you attack Skeletor for not being there, and that could work. But I think part of it is that the Mag crowd, I don't know what percentage of it. Obviously, some were, because lots of great CWF shirts.
Oh yeah, dude! A lot of people were wearing our shirts.
It's so great to see.
And a lot of people were wearing Ellie's Sailor Moon shirt.
Yes.
Ooh.
Didn't see any Pikachu shirts yet, but you know.
We'll get there.
But yes. We didn't see. We don't know, and I would expect at least a good minority of the people in the audience don't follow the CWF, and therefore have no context for why going at Skeletor matters at all. Like, if you popped that at Sac or Fanime, even if Daniel wasn't there as Skeletor.
Pop at ALA.
You pop at ALA.
Hey,
Pop it at the boat show, mate.
And then pass me the shit the rest of my room.
And you get more effect because it's more of an established show. But this is just the second time CW.
Second
this
time
is the second
CWF.
Mag show, right?
Yeah,
This is
the
our
second
Mag.
Second
Yeah,
one.
so we have, and it's outside of our normal. It's outside of the normal circuit. So going at depth knowledge of CWF is not really play very well. Ryan acknowledged that himself when we were debriefing after the show, kind of casually.
But it's okay because he figured that lesson out at Mag and not at Fanime.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, now here's a fun one, Jack. Dante.
Whew.
I'm gonna take a moment to say Rico was outstanding, but also going to give you just a tiny bit of a moment, G, when you told me after the show that you and Rico planned none of that.
Oh.
No, seriously?
Okay, real
Seriously.
quick, for context, Rico drew attention to Maddie Shida positively, which makes sense because you're a heel, and when you're heels, you at least try to either butter up or be friends with Maddie Shida, which then led to almost Maddie Shida kind of like being a quasi-hype man for Dante.
It was extremely good. I didn't realize that you had planned earlier for Rico to be the closest thing to a corporate heel the CWF has ever had.
Which is ironic because he calls everyone corporate sheep.
Yes, but
I hope Matashita can keep doing that kind of interaction with people, bouncing off each other, because that works so well.
Well, it only helps when people are friendly with him.
True.
But yeah, none of that was planned. The fist bump wasn't planned. It was. I think it all just spun. But what made it wild, Jack, is it was foreshadowed by Jigglypuff.
Oh?
Because Jigglypuff put in the reins of where are your CDs and your mixtapes, which Isaac carried, and then Dante finished off.
It's a testament to how
Organic.
well the show ran in general, like clockwork. Not just on time-wise, but in stuff like that.
And none of it was
It
planned.
felt like everyone really worked together in this show.
There's a word Jack likes to use.
So
Oh,
the word I like to use is a term that came up after breaking down Daikon, which is a show I pseudo-half helped run because Isaac, who was running, had various things going on that kept him outside of the con earlier in the day.
And
with the
Jack
one-day
was
con.
one of the first people on site.
So I was basically point of contact for G to figure stuff out. We realized, and of course, Daikon was very early in the year. It was a thing that we had been discussing and had become more and more. And the term is glasnost, which is a Russian word that was used to describe the demystification, the unobfuscating of the action of the Soviet Russian government in the in the 90s, and the way they interacted with the press, and sort of the liberalization of the Soviet government in the early 90s, making it means transparency. And I think that's a thing that has helped us in general. It was a thing we've been moving towards, but putting a name on it makes it feel like it's been a more focused effort since. I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh no, it
But
has
just-
ever since that SAC show where we all kind of sat down and went, okay, let's reorganize and restructure, because
Yes.
we restructured from the top down.
It was the Sac Winter show that really kicked it off. Me giving it a name months later.
Yeah,
Never
it was
here or
after
there,
the
but
SAC
it's
Winter
just-
show. We made changes within the organization from the top down. I don't want to get too in depth on that because that's kind of more of our conversation. But let's just say, to appease Jack's socialists, we made systemic changes to help the individual.
Yes, and that's why within the group of the CWF, we are now much more open in discussing what we are planning to do, what is going to be done, things like a lot of inside baseball stuff. But we started becoming, I think, a lot more collaborative.
We went from a competition to a theater troupe.
we're still keeping the improv though, right? I feel like that was a core component.
No, the improv is there, but it's more so where it's less about trying to surprise ourselves, and that's the big thing. Like, we don't want to surprise the roster. We only need to worry about the audience.
It's not a matter of removing or scripting the show. It's more a matter of there can be improv where one of the performers has a knife on stage. There can't be an improv performance where one of the actors has a knife on stage, and the other actors get to discover that when they pull the knife out on stage. That goes beyond improv to
Safety.
not just safety, but in that circumstance, nothing like this has ever happened. Really,
Yeah, no, there are no knives. No knives.
That's why we have security to clear all that, right? Though.
Well, I think I know what you're trying to
respecting
get.
your fellow performers.
There we go. That's it. It's about respecting
And
that.
the only time that's really happened in CWF was in that Sac Winter show. There was, not on purpose, there was disrespect to fellow performers. That was felt very strongly, and should have been felt strongly. Was rightly felt to be very strong. So we decided that we needed to take steps to make sure that doesn't happen again. And we have been. And considering how strong the shows have been since January,
Top to bottom.
literally every other show is better than the last. Bam, bam, bam. It's working pretty well.
Yeah. So here comes Dante, which is Rico's second time at being a heel. When he was Bandit Keith, he kind of got it, but this one he got the hate he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It also helps.
He was in the zone.
Well, what helps a lot is that Rico legitimately likes that Dante. Like he embraces the garbage.
Embrace the garbage should be a t-shirt that we sell.
He embraces that garbage, and it also helped that if you play Devil May Cry, there was just a natural moment to do the reveal with the wig, and I told that to Rico, like, you have to do it with the wig reveal, and I remember when he did his opening, the crowd wasn't feeling it, and then he goes, "Who wants to see me punch Matty Shida in the face?" Instant turnaround, and then at that moment, as Rick Luxury said, he pulled the rug out.
Oh, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Christian 290 also writes it was also a gaming crowd, so it was more receptive. Yes, it hit as hard as it could be because it was Mag. And Mag and gamers love Dante, and they hate Dante. But it just felt so good to have to have that big heel that wasn't me. It would have also been Jack, but things just went a different direction. Jack and Robbie were also supposed to be the heels, but it didn't happen. So then Rico got all that bad guy heat.
He really united the crowd in one way.
Oh no, that's why heels are amazing, right, Jack?
Because you can't guarantee a unity of people liking you. But there are ways you can guarantee a unity of people who just do not like you.
And then to add insult to injury again, he's going as the least like Dante. He aligns himself with Matt Ishida.
That monster.
Yeah, Matt Ishida.
And it worked so well. It felt so planned. Obviously, it wasn't. It was just in the moment.
In the moment. Can I self-gloat a little bit?
Of course.
I'm really happy of where Matt Ishida is in the standing. Even though he keeps losing and the crowd treats him as a joke, the moment just when I walked on stage and the crowd turned around, they went, "Boo!" Like, they really, I don't have to remind people to hate me.
It's so powerful, and it was a while back, I remember you talking about, like, not needing to be Batishida for the blackout circuit because of the performers, and performances getting strong enough, you didn't need the goad. But you have done such good work building up Batishida that even outside of the character existing to help build up the secondary, like, circuit, he's just, like, instant results just dropped in any show.
I think people in the CWF now just forget Matt Ishida's from Digimon. Speaking of Matt Ishida's popularity, even what happened with the Anything Goes title with Matt Ishida and the steakhouse incident is getting traction.
There's so many views.
Meanwhile, team, there's currently in the CWF kayfabe a police investigation going on in regards to the missing Anything Goes title. And just the fact that when there was the event of the Matt Ishida celebration dinner, everybody was just putting on laugh reacts to it.
So good.
It's so good. I just remember you read the description of Jack going, "Oh, God bless you." You read that. I was like, I try. Because I wanted a satire so hard, because the last thing I wanted was people to show up. Like, please. That's why I wrote, like, don't show up, don't go inside, we'll throw you out. We don't know what time Matt will show up, so, like, camp out, You know, I had to make it, because that's the problem with satire, is people will take it sincerely. I had to make it so blatant. And even then, people still thought it was serious.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything, but that was a small problem in the chat.
Which was why which is why I canceled it as early as I did.
Yeah.
Whew.
Good call. That could have snowballed.
We went a long time.
Mag was dope.
Mag was dope.
You want to?
Lot to cover.
Mag was dope. Oh, of course. First off, thank you, Ellie, for filming. I wanted to say that.
Yes.
We said everybody except Ellie and Angelica. Angelica always keeps the show running on time. She's one of the reasons why we could run so smoothly. And Ellie took a lot of pressure from us from filming. Oh man, that was
Especially thanks to Ellie, because due to a scheduling mix-up, she was actually did miss an East Bay Pro Wrestling show to come and help us. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
for
thank you.
taking that time. You and Ryan both.
And we know how much East Bay Pro Wrestling means to you. Ellie's been training, and she's been training hard.
Absolutely.
And recently, she's starting to get involved in the shows more so than volunteer. So, just the fact that you missed that for us.
And we really appreciate
We really appreciate it. We don't want you to do it too often. You go do you. But, that was amazing. I think that's a good time to end it.
We covered a lot.
A slight moment to mention what our next shows are going to be?
Yes. Actually.
Good idea.
Jack, why don't you do this? Do the honors.
Okay. So the CWF is taking the month of October to rest and recalibrate, let's say.
We are also going to be at Disney.
And take a vacation at Disneyland for some lucky few who are able to, whose names are not Jack and Ryan, but that's okay.
But just as important is that we don't have any shows.
Yes, no actual show activity in October because there's a double show at the beginning of November.
Potentially.
A double show.
Potentially. One's confirmed.
Oh, we haven't gotten that confirmed.
Well, no, we have gotten the invite, but I haven't put pen to paper. So I don't consider that confirmed until, it's in, but it's not locked. But we could at least still mention it.
Right. Now I'm wondering which is which, but considering I know which one has an event page, I know which one.
Yours is locked.
Yes. That's why we have recruitment up. Yes, we're going to potentially be doing 2 shows the same weekend. One in NorCal, one in more SoCal area. The NorCal show, which has been confirmed. You can, if you want to, visit the CWF Facebook page. We have its own event page. It does have a link to the application that you can fill in and send to us even now if you want to lock yourself in that early. It's going to be at Anime Destiny, which is a one-day con put on by the UC Berkeley Anime Club, which has a full name that I don't remember off the top of my head.
At
but
UC
I should
Berkeley.
learn. Yeah, at UC Berkeley, at the I believe it's at the MLK Union.
The Poly Ballroom.
Oh yes, the Poly Ballroom, which I believe is somewhere in that union. Since there is a potential of another show going on the same weekend, I and Rachel are going to be showrunners for this show.
Which is a first.
Which is a first for both of us. But we're very excited to do it. And most likely we will be kayfabe showrunners, even if the other show somehow, beyond expectations, does not work out. Will be our characters.
So this means that it is. Would you like to tell them the name first?
The name of the show is Cosplay Wrestling Federation Class Warfare.
And that will be on November 3rd, 2019.
November 3rd.
Date and time have not been... Actually, no, date and time have been made. Is it?
Do we have the specific time?
I think so. Let me check. I'm gonna check the.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Okay, we have the date. Time is still to be determined. So we have the
Yes,
date.
time is still TBD. We have the date by virtue of it being a one-day con. There's only one date it could be.
Yeah, CWF Class Warfare.
Yes, Class Warfare is coming up on the 3rd of November.
And
The other show.
oh wait,
Which-
I just want to talk about Class Warfare real quick.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Anime Destiny reached out to us, and they are very excited to come. And our involvement here was not mine. It was actually Jack who spearheaded this. So this is Jack's doing it. I'm very happy about Jack taking the initiative. Was that
I'm scared as hell.
Oh, I thought that it was like thank you, not a
No, I am super nervous, but mostly because our Daikon show was so spectacular, and
Which it
Daikon
was.
was so good to us
Which they were.
as a group. It was outstanding. They apologized for not having a trophy ready, which is insane to me.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Sorry, CWF. We wanted to make you a big trophy, but we couldn't. Will you forgive us? Like, stop it.
Friction,
Stop
it
thinking-
wasn't ready yet. It's for next year. They want to give it to us next year to give to the winner of Daikon 2020. Sure.
Oh, and they gave us olive oil.
Yes, they gave us, because UC Davis is also the major agricultural college.
The whole point is
I-
Jack recognized the value of having small college shows.
Yes, and it's also a great place for new talent to premiere.
Like new.
Just like we saw here at MagWest. MagWest, it was a smaller show, but we had 3 new competitors, effectively.
Not new
and they
characters.
all-
New
New
people.
competitors, and they all killed it. So these new smaller shows I want to nurture and have, so we can have places where we can onboard new talent, and they don't have to premiere at Fanime or Sac Anime, where the crowds are huge, and very much expect the level of performance from everyone that our tip-top performers who have been doing this literally years can deliver.
It's the newness even extends to the staff, because this is going to, and I mean this in the best way possible, people. This is going to be a show without Lasheda Decree or Maddie Shida. That means it could breathe as its own thing, just like how the SoCal circuit is with Mr. Dangerous and Iron Will. No, all the new people looking for experience, all the new people want to join in. All our people who would like more experience, that invite extends to you, Theresa, and Sean, if you're listening. Just come here.
Ooh.
Absolutely. It's going to be great. The more people we can confirm in, the better I'm going to feel.
It's also accessible by Bart.
Hey.
It's Bart accessible. You can write Bart in your cosplay. Do it. It's
Right.
great.
You can write Bart in your cosplay. It's relatively, $10 to get it. $10 at door, 8 pre-sale. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think we're getting provided anything badge-wise at all, but, $10 at door,
Whatever.
expecting much. Yeah. We'll see what else we
And
get.
we saw the room, and it looks fantastic.
Room looks dope.
We're not gonna tell you about it. Well, everyone's gonna get access to the same room, but the important thing is we get access to the dope room.
Who are you reporting to? Period.
I'm really excited for this. I strongly encourage a lot of new talent if you're looking to
We got 2.
if you're looking to
Yeah, so who are you reporting
if
to?
you're looking to like try it out. This is
So make
the
it-
most softball of softball debut shows you could be in, which is
Oh,
an
yeah.
amazing asset.
I really hope that very few of our audience have seen it previous, because it's going to be great to bring out our guns to new fans in the area.
Amen.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a confirmed show.
Yes.
The
The
sh-
unconfirmed as of yet, the almost confirmed show is going to be at HentaiCon,
That is correct.
which out in, I forget off the top of my head.
So, Southern California.
Yeah, SoCal, but I don't know specifically where. But it doesn't really matter. This will be the second HentaiCon show. The real fun part of the HentaiCon show is that it is an 18+ con, so we can finally undo the shackles of PG-13, and everyone gets to say the F word, not just Justin once,
Yeah,
or in the
Oh,
case of Matt,
man.
Lashada once.
everyone gets to say the F word. Everyone gets to play in an experimental space of where we could push the raunchiness a little bit
And
more, and still
boy,
feel
did
it.
y'all last time.
Hmm?
And boy, did y'all last time. Oh,
Yeah.
the chat's saying, by the way, it is in Burbank.
It's a thank you, Rico. It's in Burbank. Yes, Rico actually won HentaiCon as the Killer T sale and gave everyone a sex education lesson.
We had
Sexy
I know,
Commander
Sexy Riker was there.
Sexy Riker, sexy cat woman.
You repeat yourself. Isaac was Dick Lude, which I assume was just Rick Rude, but more so.
Yes, the ravishing Dick Lude. Who came out to the Careless Whisper saxophone.
God.
Yeah, it definitely allows us to have a different flavor, and we appreciate it, and we're hoping that comes back, because hopefully I would love to see what would happen if we had anything go shenanigans at HentaiCon.
And here I was hoping you'd let me keep the belt of Anime Destiny. Darn it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that was never gonna happen. And it's nice that we can really figure out, because the CWF has always had performers willing to move across the entirety of the giant state, but there has been a SoCal and NorCal sort of circle with a lot of overlap. Then it's going to be great to be able to see if we can actually effectively schedule NorCal and SoCal without having people planning airline trips or multi-hour car rides.
It's also fun that one show's on Saturday and one show's on Sunday. So
Yes.
theoretically, the people at Anime Destiny could watch both.
Absolutely. Probably should do a hosting party. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure that. But hey, thanks for joining us. This was an extra long podcast. We had a lot to talk about. But judging by all the viewers here, everybody was really happy with today's topic. Oh, we like to thank not only our audience members who've been supporting us all this time, but just again, Mag, mwah, thank you, Mag, for having us. Thank you for letting me work there. Thank you for letting me use my enact my unique vision on the programming. And of course, thank you, Jack and Theresa, for being here tonight.
Of course.
Thank you so much for having us. And I can't wait for next Mag.
Yeah. Now, should we we haven't ended on a question in a while, Jack.
True.
It's kind
What do you got?
That's a good one. Last time we answered it was favorite entrance, favorite submission holds, favorite weapon used in a hardcore match, describe your own in-ring psychology. I would say, I'm gonna have to talk on this.
I've got one, if you would like.
Alright, but I will only listen to it if I have permission to veto it if I really don't like it. Hopefully I do like it. Go on.
But I'm going to say the next question is, if you were a CWF performer, what other performer's CWF character would you most like to perform at a CWF event? And if you're a fan, what CWF performer would you most like to be at an actual CWF performer character would you most like to be in a CWF.
I got it. If you were a performer, what character would you like to do? And if you're not a performer, what character would you like to see? Did I get it right?
I was saying if you weren't a performer, what character would you like to do if you were?
Oh, I see. What character you would do? That's even more interesting. Okay.
Yes.
You're lucky. I'm not vetoing that one.
You wouldn't veto anything. I'm immaculate.
Yes, you are. But you're not veto. But you're not veto proof. I just
That's
choose
true.
not to veto tonight. All right, one more time, chat. For our CWF performers, what character would you like to do? And for our non-performer/fans, if you were to perform, who would you do? And I'm gonna add the little caveat: you better describe how you do it.
Yes.
All right. Well, signing off tonight is Gerardo Paz with Jack and Teresa. Any closing comments, you two?
Trans rights.
That's a good one.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you for listening, and we're signing out. Bye.
Bye.
Ta.